They laughed at him, until their invincible champion collapsed to the floor, writhing in pain, and the overconfident Zach turned pale, stepping back. Who even are you?" he croaked, staring at Kevin with genuine horror. Kevin took a step forward, his gaze cold and merciless. "The one you laughed at." Kevin Langley was one of those people who seemed to exist in another dimension. Not that he was invisible, but no one paid attention to him unless they needed someone to laugh at. He moved through school like a shadow, avoiding eye contact with other students, as if afraid that his mere presence might disturb someone. His clothes were always simple, unremarkable. Gray hoodies, faded jeans, sneakers without bright logos. No accessories, no distinguishing features. It was as if he wanted to be unnoticed. But his invisibility worked against him. People don't like those who give them no reason to interact. They crave emotions. Fear, anger, joy, irritation. And Kevin was emptiness. That was precisely why Zach Morgan chose him. Zach was everything Kevin was not. Confident, tall, with a loud voice and assertive gestures. He moved through the school like a king among his subjects, tossing out jokes and mockery like coins to beggars. And always by his side was his loyal companion, Trevor. Not as charismatic, but always ready to chime in and add fuel to the fire. "Are you even a person, or just a glitch in the system?" Zach drawled with a smirk before suddenly shoving Kevin with his shoulder. The metal lockers behind him clanged unpleasantly. Laughter erupted in a wave from the students nearby. It was a signal. Everyone was allowed to laugh. Everyone was free to humiliate. "They say even computer viruses are more popular than you, Langley," Trevor chimed in, grinning smugly as he nudged Zach in the ribs as if he had just delivered the joke of the day. Kevin remained silent. He didn't flinch, didn't fight back, didn't even show a hint of irritation. He just looked at them, with a gaze that was empty, colorless. And then he clenched his fists. No one noticed the barely perceptible movement. No one saw the cold spark that flickered in Kevin's eyes. They thought he was weak. They thought he was helpless. They didn't know the truth. No one did. Zach didn't just bully the weak, he turned it into an art form. He wasn't the type to throw the first punch, steal lunch money, or break noses like an ordinary thug. No, his method was subtler, more refined. He put on a show. When Zach started, he didn't just humiliate. He gathered an audience, stretched out the moment, turning someone else's weakness into a spectacle, forcing everyone to laugh. And the louder that laughter was, the sweeter his victory felt. After all, nothing was more satisfying than watching someone shrink, flush red, try to escape, only to realize there was no way out. But that day, he wanted something more. Zach was lounging on the hood of someone's car in the schoolyard, lazily typing on his phone, when his eyes landed on Kevin Langley again. Quiet, unremarkable, as invisible as always, but somehow that only made him more irritating. Zach suddenly wondered, could Langley even throw a punch? Did he know how to fight? Or would he just take the hits, the same way he always took the insults? The thought amused him. No, it was genius. "Langley, have you ever hit anyone in your life?" Zach asked, squinting as if he'd just made a groundbreaking discovery. Kevin didn't answer, didn't react, didn't even flinch. That was infuriating. "Maybe it's time you stepped into the ring," Zach continued, his smirk widening. "Give the people a show." The crowd stirred, buzzing with anticipation. They understood the hint. This wasn't just a challenge. It was a death sentence. The underground fights in the abandoned hangar behind the school had long become part of their world. No one knew who had first come up with the idea, but it had stuck. It was a place where school rules didn't apply, where social status didn't matter. There, fists made the rules. "Come on, Kevin, show us what you've got," Zach sneered, tossing a pair of old boxing gloves at him. Kevin caught them, but he didn't just catch them. His movement was too precise, too fast. But no one noticed. The abandoned hangar reeked of dampness. Graffiti-covered walls reflected the dim glow of flashlights, while moonlight seeped through the shattered windows, turning the place into a ring where people came for blood and spectacle. The crowd pressed in tight, intoxicated by the thrill. There were no teachers here, no adults, no rules. "Who's ready to watch the loser get wiped across the floor?" someone yelled, and the response was a chorus of eager cheers. Zach smirked. Everything was going according to plan. That was why he had put Kevin up against their champion, Bryce Carpenter, a football player, team captain, nearly a head taller than Kevin, with hands that could crumple him like a sheet of paper. Everyone knew how this was going to end. Everyone, except for one person. Kevin stepped forward. His face was blank, emotionless, but something about him had changed. It wasn't nervousness, it wasn't fear. Something dark, long suppressed, had awakened inside him, and tonight it was coming out. Bryce moved like a runaway truck at full speed. His fist, the size of a small sledgehammer, hurtled straight for Kevin's face. Everyone expected the same thing, a dull, sickening crunch, the sound of breaking bone, the weakling collapsing onto the dirty floor of the hangar. But it never happened. Kevin was gone. Not literally, of course, but that's how it looked to everyone watching the fight. He slid to the side, moving faster than the eye could follow. This wasn't a simple dodge. His body moved without wasted effort, as if he had seen the punch coming a second before Bryce had even thrown it. And before anyone could process what had happened, Kevin's elbow drove into Bryce's solar plexus. A dull thud. Air exploded from the bigger guy's lungs in a choked gasp. His face contorted in pain, and he crumpled to his knees, clutching his chest like he'd been shot. Zach blinked. His smirk vanished. "What?" he choked out, his face draining of color. But that was only the first strike. Kevin didn't give Bryce a chance to recover. He turned on his heel, his movement almost lazy. But there was precision in it. The kind of precision a surgeon has when cutting away the unnecessary. A strike. Sharp. Whip-like. Without hesitation. Bryce dropped like a felled tree. The heavy thud of his body hitting the wooden floor echoed through the hangar. He didn't move. The crowd froze. No cheers, no laughter, no taunts. Just tense, stunned silence. What had just happened wasn't an accident. It wasn't luck. It wasn't some bizarre fluke. It had been executed perfectly. Kevin didn't just know how to fight. He knew how to break people. Zach took a step back, his chest tightening with cold fear. Who even are you?" he rasped, feeling ice spread through his veins. Kevin slowly lifted his gaze to him. Calm, emotionless. "The one you laughed at." A minute ago, the hangar had been shaking with laughter. They had been waiting for a show. They wanted to see the weakling fall to the ground, beaten, humiliated, broken. But now, no one was laughing. Their faces were twisted in fear. Trevor, who had been egging Zach on just moments ago, was now stumbling backward, his hands raised in a pleading gesture. "Kevin, hey! It was just a joke." His voice trembled, the words tumbling out clumsily, as if even he couldn't believe what he was saying. A joke? Kevin took a step forward. Zach, the one who always thrived in the spotlight, who lived off the humiliation of others, suddenly swayed as if the ground beneath him had collapsed. We didn't know, man," he muttered, retreating. But the walls of the hangar were too close. There was nowhere to run. Kevin stepped right up to him. Zach froze. He had never seen him like this. No one had. There was no anger in Kevin's eyes, no desire for revenge. Just a terrifying, icy indifference. With one move, Kevin could have broken his nose. Could have hit him so hard that Zach would never smile that smug grin again. Could have knocked the arrogance right out of his head. But he didn't. Instead, Kevin smirked. Quietly, coldly. The fight is over. Zach flinched. He had been expecting a hit. He had braced for it. But it never came. Kevin simply turned and walked away, leaving them frozen in place. No one moved. No one said a word. This time, he had won. And they never laughed again.